Hello, I'm Paul Spence from King's College London, and together with Naomi Wells, I co-convene the Digital Model Languages Seminar Series, which aims to bring together and raise the visibility of long language-based study that engages with digital culture, media, and technologies at all levels of education. I'd like to welcome you to this two-part event on best practice for remote learning in model languages at primary level. Someone recently commented that the pandemic had made them a better educator, and I don't know if we all share that feeling, at least not just yet. But I do think that something fundamental has changed in our relationship to digitally mediated aspects of language education and in the conversation about how to use technology selectively and critically in the classroom. The pressure of rapidly switching to forced online education for much of the last year in highly pressurized circumstances has meant that for many of us, I think it's felt like we've been in survival mode for long periods. But we now have a body of collective experience which allows us to reflect critically on what we've learned about remote learning or hybrid online and offline learning and how that might shape future pedagogies in modern languages. The event today aims to bring some of that experience together and provide a forum for discussion about the future. And it gives us great pleasure to have collaborated with this on this event with Raquel Tola Rego, a Spanish teacher and modern foreign languages consultant, education manager and academic coordinator at LearnwithBravo. Emilie Woodroffe, a French teacher and associate teacher manager at Primary Languages Network. Joe Dale, an independent languages consultant, and Bernadette Clinton from Hackney Services for Schools. So today will consist of basically two presentations, first by Raquel and then by Emilie, of approximately 40 minutes with 10 minutes for questions at the end of each presentation. And we'll have a short comfort break just before 5 p.m. And I just want to pass over to my colleague Naomi Wells, who's going to talk us through some of the practicalities.
Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to talk through a bit about how we'll run the event today over Zoom. So as you'll have noticed, the chat is open for you all to talk with each other and also to respond to some of the kind of more interactive activities that our presenters have planned. And also you can use the chat to ask questions. It would be really helpful if you could put Q before your questions so that I can pull those questions out and give them to Raquel and Emilie. So that is how we'll handle the discussion today. Just to say, there won't be that much time for questions today, but the second session will be much more discussion based, and there'll be chances to revisit some of the questions you might have in that second session if we don't get to all of your questions today. And that is why today we won't be asking you to unmute yourselves. We'll be managing it all via the chat, just because we do have quite a large group of people here today. So we thought that would be the easiest way to manage it. Just to let you know, the event is being recorded. This will go up on our Digital Modern Languages YouTube channel in the next day or so. It will only be the presenters who are visible in the recording, but do contact me if you have any concerns about that recording, either via the chat or via my email, which I'll put in the chat shortly. Also, you may have noticed that captions are turned on today. So we have automated captions. They're not perfect because they are automated, and they're not, as we've just tested, they don't work if you for languages other than English at the moment. But you are able to turn this on or off. So you should have, it depends on your device, but you should have a CC or a live transcript button. And so you should be able to turn those on or off depending on your preference. So I think that's the main practicalities. If there's anything I've missed, do feel free to post it in the chat and I will be there to respond during the presentations. But for now, I'll hand back over to Paul, who will introduce our first presenter.
Thank you. So I'll pass on to Raquel Tola Rego, who I mentioned earlier on, is a Spanish teacher and MFL consultant and coordinator of LearnwithBravo, and will give us the first presentation. Thank you, Raquel.
Hello, everyone. I am just going to share my screen. I'm going to be sharing my work at Parkwood Primary School, where we have been teaching Spanish remotely once a week to all year groups from nursery to year 6. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of context on what we do at Parkwood, first of all, so that you can better understand. So all classes from nursery to year 6 learn Spanish, and all the teachers and TAs are involved in this learning as well. In July 2019, we received an international accreditation as an international Spanish school from the Spanish Consejería de Educación, and we always teach weekly sessions in all classes, as well as art through Spanish. At the moment, we are doing all these lessons live on Zoom every week. And the only difference is that year reception and nursery are having the lesson together. First of all, I will be showing you how I structure my lessons. There is a routine that always starts with a greeting song. The greetings are progressing as the year groups go higher up. So for example, in reception and nursery, we might be saying buenos días, buenas tardes. In year 1 and 2, we might say ¿qué tal? And then children will respond how they are in key stage 2, in year 3 and 4, muy bien, excelente, regular. And in years 5 and 6, they will have to explain why are they feeling that way. There is always a song linked to every theme. So there's always a song in every lesson, at least one song, if not more. And there is always a very strong phonic focus. We do a lot of reading, a lot of speaking, and pronunciation is like on the top of our priorities. After all this is done, there is always a presentation with the new vocabulary or the vocabulary that we are currently teaching at that time, and activities that allow us to have a formative assessment. These activities could vary. They could be written activities, reading activities, speaking activities, interactive games, worksheets, different things. To always finish with a plenary or a storytelling and a goodbye routine that you will see shortly on a video. What I would like you to do is to check all the activities, the challenges, and the engagement on pupils from nursery and reception, year 4 and year 5, on a clip that I am going to play shortly. And I would like you to look for things like, are there any opportunities for pair work or for group work during the online learning? Do you think that there is evidence of a variety of activities that includes all the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing? Is there any evidence of differentiation? Do you see how we correct mistakes on the pronunciation or the writing? And is there any evidence of progression between the year groups that you are going to see? So that's what I would like to do. And I would like you to comment these things on the chat after you watch the video, during the time that you're watching the video, either way. So here is the clip. Just make sure that you show me your thumbs up if you can hear like the children do when they are in the classroom. Hopefully it will work now. Bien. Efan, ¿cómo estás?
Yeah.
Bien,
¿Por qué?
estoy feliz.
Excelente. Julia, ¿qué tal?
Bien,
¿Por qué?
estoy motivado.
Excelente. Ginia, ¿cómo estás?
Bien,
¿Por qué?
porque estoy fantástico.
Muy bien, ¿qué tal? Teo. Teo, ¿cómo estás?
Fenomenal,
¿Por qué?
fenomenal. Porque estoy feliz.
Muy bien, ¿qué tal, Timur?
Bien,
¿Por qué?
porque estoy feliz.
¿Qué ves ahí? We say that one all together, okay? Veo un pájaro rojo que me mira a mí. I want to hear all of you. Pájaro rojo.
Pájaro.
And we say together, ¿qué ves ahí? Veo un pato amarillo que me mira a mí. Are you ready? Pato amarillo. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo un caballo azul que me mira a mí. Caballo azul. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo una rana verde que me mira a mí. Rana verde. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo un gato morado que me mira a mí. Gato morado. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo un perro blanco que me mira a mí. Perro blanco. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo una oveja negra que me mira a mí. Oveja negra. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo un pez dorado que me mira a mí. Pez dorado. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo a la maestra que me mira a mí. Maestra. ¿Qué ves ahí? Veo a los niños que me miran a mí. Niños. ¿Qué ves ahí? And I want you to say after me now. Un oso pardo. Un pájaro rojo. Un pato amarillo. Un caballo azul. Una rana verde. Un gato morado. Un perro blanco. Una oveja negra. Un pez dorado y una maestra. Muy bien.
Now we're going to year 4.
¿Reptil es un mamífero o es un pez?
I wonder, gracias for that. Who can tell me? ¿El gato es un reptil, es un mamífero o es un pez? And I can see Ayana has raised her hand on the application. So Ayana, can you answer that for us?
Es un mamífero.
Es un mamífero. I want to know if everybody agrees or no. ¿Es un mamífero? ¿Está bien o está mal?
Está bien.
Está bien, excelente. And read the next question.
¿Tiene pelo o tiene escamas?
Excelente, beautiful pronunciation. Who can tell me? ¿Tiene pelo o tiene escamas? What would be the answer for that question? Remember, pelo o escamas. I am looking for hands up and I can see loads of people raise their hand. I can see three as well, three in the classroom. Can you tell us the answer? ¿Tiene pelo o tiene escamas? ¿Tiene escamas? It's going to do the same thing with another animal, but this time I am going to give you time to do it by yourselves, okay? This is what I want you to do. If you are in the classroom, I want you to write it down, either in your book or in a whiteboard, whatever you prefer. If you are at home, I want you to write it down on a piece of paper, okay? And if you can, do a little picture of the animal. ¿Tiene pelo o tiene escamas? What do you think?
Tiene escamas.
Tiene escamas, excelente, muy bien. Tricky question here, ¿es ovíparo o es vivíparo? Hands up if you can tell me, ¿es ovíparo o es vivíparo? I see Batu has his hand up, so can you please let us know your answer?
So, viviparo was egg, right?
No,
Oh, then oviparo.
ovíparo. Can you tell me, ¿de qué color es?
Everyone. It feels like what's the color?
See? So can you name some of the colors that you see in the fish?
I see verde,
Verde, muy bien.
verde,
Muy bien. Naranja, excelente.
rojo,
Rojo, muy bien. Sí.
amarillo,
Amarillo, muy bien.
and
How about I see a bit of blue. How do we say blue?
Azul.
Azul. Muy bien, excelente. Very good. And let's go to the last question. ¿Es grande, es mediano o es pequeño? Who would like to answer this question? Let me see. Maybe Scarlett or Aslam, someone in the classroom this time. Anybody in the classroom? Whoever it is, Calypso, I don't mind. Anyone in the... Oh, maybe Shania. She hasn't had a go just yet. Es pequeño. Excelente.
So children produce different work with the animal of their choice, following the steps we've been doing in the classroom. This is year 5, the week before the lesson you're going to see. And they had a model and only changed keywords to make their own stories.
Pero y este color marrón o naranja y no tiene color y
Cola.
víparo y vive en la casa y su camino es mediano y 2 patas y 3 patas y 4 patas.
Okay, I'm going to send to everyone Irfan's challenge. See if we can guess. Okay, are you ready? Irfan, read it out loud. It's on the chat for everybody.
Tienes plumas, es de color diferente, no tiene cola, es ovíparo, no tiene dientes, vive en el polo, su lamo es mediano, para moverse usa 2 patas.
Muy bien, su tamaño es mediano, para moverse usa 2 patas. Excelente. ¿Qué es? I think I know this one. Maybe I am wrong, but can anybody guess? I see Teo again with her hand up. Teo?
Es el penguin.
Es un pingüino, Irfan.
Tiene 8, es de color verde, no tiene cola, es ovíparo, no tiene dientes, vive en el campo, su tamaño es pequeño, para moverse usa muchas patas.
And this is the work they produce at the end of this session. Some examples of it.
And what we're going to do now is just say adios, and I will see you la próxima semana. Adiós, 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 amigos, adiós. Muchas gracias, muchas gracias, muchas gracias. Ajá. Adiós. Adiós, Miss Lucy. Adiós, Miss Yasha.
Adiós.
Adiós, Arancha. Adiós, Paul.
Adiós, amigos. Bye.
Adiós. Adiós, amigos.
Adiós.
So that is the examples that I would like to show you. It would be very interesting if we go through some of the ideas that you shared on the chat. But just before we do that, I have some examples of the chat as well that I get from the children. And I was wondering if you could tell me why I fit them in 2 different columns, one in blue and one in gray. What do you think if you just make a comment on the chat, and maybe Naomi, you can let me know what people are saying in the chat. What do you think the difference is? Buenos días, bien porque estoy feliz, sorry I'm late, hola, fenomenal porque estoy motivada, tú, hola Raquel, it's my birthday on Friday, I am 9, what does vivíparo mean? I don't understand, es un gato. So let's check. No, nobody wants to tell me, nobody wants to guess. Okay, I will send you a virtual sticker if you do. Any ideas? Why ones that you want to get on the left? But why have I've split them into these groups? So they've been randomly sent to me by year 3, 4, 5 children, different children, and I've just put some examples here. Messages in Spanish, in English, it could be, but it's not. That's not why. The child in blue has a more understanding of a language. Okay, they are all different children in all the different examples. Questions. Yes, you're getting closer. There's one with more questions. Although es mi cumpleaños, it's my birthday. Let's focus on the task. Okay. Think that this was during the lessons that we've been seeing. Okay. And one only has really greetings, but the other one is a bit more mixed. Asking questions, or es un gato, would be kind of like wanting to answer. Okay, so let's just check. That's a good idea, but not a spontaneous talk. Very interesting. Let's see. Let's click and see what is behind that blank space. So the messages on the right have been sent out privately. And what do you think, now that you know these messages have been sent out privately, comparing them to the other column, what do you think we could learn from the chat? Or what do you think the chat gives us? What opportunity does it give to the children that perhaps wouldn't have if we are only using verbal language during the lesson online? Let's check the chat again. More information. Yes, there is more information. The freedom to admit that they don't know, they don't understand. That's exactly what it is. When a child is very secure, they will show off, they will send it to everybody, no matter if it's an answer, a question. Some of them don't have any fear of asking or saying, I don't understand in front of the class, whilst others are a little bit less confident, feel better if they do it privately. That's exactly the answer to it. Well done, everyone in the chat that you're taking part. I wish I had loads of stickers to send you. Okay, so after that, what can we use the chat for? And at the beginning of my lessons online, I was using the chat because I thought, oh, maybe children are going to be talking to each other. Most of the comments might be about Roblox or Minecraft. And it did happen. But then you set up clear rules. It's really good to use it for greetings. As you come in, they have something to say always, to ask questions, but also to set a task. When you were watching the video, you saw in a yellow box that what the children wrote, then they were reading. That activity was against the animal. So I asked all the children to write one description of an animal and send it to me privately. And then I sent those ones to each other. Okay, so each of them kept like getting different challenges non-stop, no matter what speed they were answering the questions to. So if someone took, say, 3 minutes to guess that one was un pingüino, but someone else guessed in minute 1, they had more work there ready for them. Sending links to songs and interactive games is also a good way to use the chat, so they can play at different speeds, while the classroom is managed by the class teacher and they play on the interactive board. So these are just some examples of what we're doing and some examples of what I would send on a chat. We're back to the slide that I showed you before the video. And I would love to see on the chat some of your ideas. Did you see any pupil engagement? And if you did, how was that? What shows you that the children are engaged? You can talk about one specific year group or about the video in general. How do we know if children were engaged during those short clips? They were all trying to have a go, that is true. Are there any opportunities for pair work or group work during the online learning? We have some real engagement, high pupil engagement. Pupils were responding to questions and using the vocabulary. Yes, they were joining with the reading and reception. So there's an answer here, yes, in rooms. We don't use rooms in my primary school because we only have access to a free account. We are very poor at the moment, but that would be great if we could do that. Although I assume we might need more adults to be over seeing the different rooms. Okay, how about the variety of activities? Did you have a chance to see listening, speaking, reading, and writing activities? In obviously not writing in reception and nursery, but okay. Is there any evidence of differentiation in the clip that I have shown you? It is true, you could move from one room to another. Yes, porque after the ¿qué tal? Okay. With my questioning, private messages, yes. So it is actually quite easy to do differentiation in these lessons because of the private chat I found out as well. And how do I correct them when they make mistakes? Did anybody like see how do I correct them in the pronunciation or the writing mistakes? If you think I corrected them privately, okay. I didn't do that privately. I did it related. I said the word accurately afterwards. So yes, I just repeat it. I don't mention there is a mistake or anything like that. I just say it again. And is there any evidence of progression between all these year groups that we're learning about animals? All of them are having the same topic. How do we know that by the time they get to year 6, they will be learning more than just the names of the animals? So how does it progress? You can see in the writing, yes, the writing. Oh, gracias, Claire. Incredible progression, Claire says. More complex structures, yes, and more vocabulary as well. Do you think there is progression in the pronunciation, for example, as well, or the reading, we would say, more manipulating in the language? Vale. Removal of more. Oh, the chat goes so fast that I can't read all of them. But yes, do I ever correct or just model? I would say maybe 1% of the times I correct. And then I kind of like slap myself on my hand. No, don't do that. I don't like correcting them. I like modeling for them or asking other children to model. I also like modeling the different accents using my Spanish speakers in the class. So they know that they can say cinco or cinco. They can say azul or azul, all that. But I don't really do much correction. And if we do spellings, I might just ask them, check again. Remember, break the word into syllables. We say amarillo, and you know the J sound, so check your spelling. If it's on a written work, maybe I will correct something, or I will just rewrite the word rather than crossing and correcting, but that would be how it is. Thank you for all those comments on the chat. So now I have another little practical activity for you to do. These are the objectives of my 3 lessons here, but they all got mixed up. And I would like you to see if you can tell me which ones belong to nursery and reception, year 3 and year 4, and if you could pair them into 2 groups as well, okay? That kind of like link with the different skills. So I'm gonna let you do that for about a minute and see if there is any answers in the chat. Maybe we can start with the ones that you think belong to nursery. What were my objectives in the nursery and reception? Simple words, definitely, yes. Excellent. Repeat simple words and identify animals. Fantastic. Let's see, what do you think is year 4? What are the year 4 of? How many hours per week do they have Spanish? In nursery and reception, they have half an hour. In year 1 and 2, they have 30 minutes of Spanish plus 1 hour of art through Spanish. And in Key Stage 2, they have 45 minutes of Spanish and 1 hour of art through Spanish every week. So about 1 hour and a half. Nursery and reception have their teachers as well practicing as well. So year 4, I can read and understand a range of familiar phrases. Okay, written phrases. If anybody disagrees, please just feel free to disagree, okay? Okay, how about year 5? What do you think? Are they I can adapt models? Yes. And independently. Now, can you group them into 2 groups? So I want 2 different groups that goes from nursery, year 4, and year 5. So 3 on top and 3 on top, that relate to the different skills, okay? Are all these ones related to listening, or are they all speaking, reading, writing? How would you sort them in 2 groups? That's what I would like to do. And I'm only going to give you 2 seconds, and then I'm going to the next slide where you will see all of the groupings. So here is what you have already said. Reception and I would say nursery as well. Can repeat simple words, and year 4 and then year 5. I put one group of objectives that are more related to speaking and reading, and the other one to writing, okay? So if you were thinking of like doing a lesson in year 6, what do you think you could add to year 5? Give me some suggestions in the chat. What kind of things could you add to what the year 5 children have already achieved on this topic to make it a little bit more complex to year 6 level? And this obviously is if you've been teaching them Spanish for all these years. If you started in year 3, then it would work differently. Other topics within the topic animals, because what I wanted to prove is that you can make progress within one topic, and you can teach the same topic in every single year group, but teaching them something new. Writing from memory, yes, reduce support, opinions. Yes, Bernadette has says that we have explained the day that we've broken the stage 1 objectives into each year group. Describe the habitat, yes. And that would also probably match with the themes in there. And so between reception and year 4, there is a big gap in there that unfortunately I didn't have enough recordings to put in there. But what do you think they would be learning between year reception and year 4 about animales that would fill in this gap? More unfamiliar language, yes. Qualifiers, adjectives and agreements, descriptions, yes, definitely descriptions, de qué color es el animal, what is the color or the size of the animal, maybe counting how many legs they have, or the body parts, describing the animals and their homes, what they eat, yes. They do that in year 2, herbivorous and carnivorous. So you can always try and link with their topics in the classroom as well to make it more cross-curricular, and that way it will be more embedded. All the learning will be more embedded. Vale. So now I wanted just to let you know, to present to you, and then we can have a bit of a discussion, that the 3 videos, 3 presentations, and 3 online games that you will be able to access after this session today, and that link completely to what I've been showing you on the clips. Those are just like ideas for you. You can use them. They will be available in the digital languages for how long, Naomi? Are they going to be there just forever? The resources, yes? But they can be downloaded as well. It is easy to progress if you start from year 6. So when I will plan, I will say, oh, by the time they get to year 6, I would like my children to be able to say what the animal classification is, what they look like, use the verb I, qué animales hay en la foto, qué animales hay en la selva, qué animales hay en la granja, and then work backwards all the way until I get to nursery and reception, where we're going to start just by learning the names of the animals. When you said in the chat noun and adjective agreement, because my school starts teaching Spanish from early years, we start doing that quite a lot from year 2 and year 3. But if you start in key stage 2, then definitely I would go more for year 4 or end of year 3 to do the agreement. And opinions, me gusta o no me gusta, can be introduced after, but then giving a reason why, por qué, would be also something more for year 5 and year 6. So if you use these resources, you will have a progression, and it would be maybe quite interesting to see if you can create your own to fill in the gap between nursery and year 4, and then one more for your year 6s. Let's see. So we're going back just really quickly, and I would like to see any more comments on the lesson that we've seen on the video. My screen's gone blank, but I hope that you can still see it. And how would you give more opportunities for pair and group work during the online learning? Because this is something that I've been trying to do really hard all this time. So just 1 or 2 ideas that we can share about group and pair work during an online lesson that doesn't require rooms. If anybody has any ideas. Whiteboard, okay, yes. How would you use the whiteboard? Maybe playing Pictionary? Jamboard? Yes, it does allow it to be interactive when you use the whiteboard. That's really, really good idea. And everyone can have a whiteboard. If you have them the children working at home, we ask them to put a plastic folder over a paper, and they've been using that as a whiteboard as well, and role play. How would you do role play if you are in a group like this? How would you would you do one with the ones that are in the classroom and then just like something on the chat? So it would be like written role play, or would you just, because remember, if you cannot break into rooms, into breakout rooms, you cannot have them in small pairs. Okay. And have a role as well. One child asks a question and the other child answers. Repeat the question to another child. Yes. Okay. Vale. So this is it for me. Then we'll have 10 minutes for questions. I don't know if there's any questions already in the chat or not, because I can see so many messages that they're going too fast, faster than I can read.
Hi, Raquel. Yeah, that was great. Fantastic. I think there's a lot of responses in there, obviously, that you've been able to see already.
I've seen some, but not all of them.
Yeah, I don't think there were many questions. Just on a practical issue, someone asked about certificates for attending. So this is a kind of organizational question. If you email me, I'll put my email in again. If you can email me if you need a certificate to prove that you've attended this session, I'll put my email in the chat again. And if you email me and tell me your name, but also can you tell me what name you are on Zoom so that I can cross-reference. So if you email me, we can make sure you have a certificate of attendance for those who need it. I think I think Bernadette's answered some of the questions. Someone did ask about the copyright in when you use books. I think Bernadette's clarified that it's education purposes. But if there are any copyright issues with recording kind of materials like books or using videos, I don't know if.
I believe if you use the actual book, it is not, but if you use a PowerPoint or something like that, they could be, but this is just my understanding. I can see someone is asking, do you teach Spanish alone at Parkwood? Do you mean if I am the only Spanish teacher? I am the only Spanish teacher, but we upskill all our teachers and teaching assistants because they stay in during the Spanish lessons and they have to join in. Then they have some tasks during the week, like taking the register, asking what the weather is like, or doing some Spanish at lunchtime, just like with the food. But also our PE coach is now introducing some Spanish as well into his lessons. So I am not alone. It is like a team thing, but I am the only Spanish speaker and the only Spanish teacher, yes. Do I teach totally in Spanish? No, I would say between 60 and 80%, depending on the class and depending on the task. I need to make sure that every child understands what we're doing and that they're not falling behind. And every time that we start a presentation of new vocabulary, I will go through that presentation again, just asking on each slide, ¿qué significa oso pardo? ¿Qué significa mamíferos? ¿Qué significa tiene cola? just to make sure that everybody understands everything. So I think there was another question, but I can't see it now.
There was a question earlier, which again, I think you kind of answered and Bernadette answered, but do you take the objectives from the UK education framework for each group and or aim?
Yes, that's what Bernadette answered. So in Hackney, we have kind of written 20 objectives for each year group that cover all the national curriculum objectives. And we even have them in our books, and we can tick and assess children as we go. It is something that we can share. It's available to everybody, isn't it, Bernadette? Maybe we can put the link to the objectives from the Hackney website. What do you think? Because that is freely available to everyone. You have to unmute.
Yeah, everything that we produce is available to anyone. We don't have any copyright on anything. I'll put in the Hackney website if I can remember it. I'm sure I can.
And we also do Spanish for parents, by the way, because it feels like engaging the whole community, the whole school community, has like a really good effect. Like everybody is really involved with Spanish. We do also take the children in year 5 to Spain for a week, which if you ask sometimes at the end of the year, when you go to meet the new teacher and you ask the children, so what are you looking forward to the most next year? And they are in year 2. I am 1 year closer to the trip to Spain. So it is like they have a purpose why they learn in Spanish. We do a lot of things with our partner school in Spain. And even now with the Hackney Music Service as well, we're doing loads of Spanish, like music challenges. You should all check.
There's an interesting question about the progression, do you find your pupils going on to secondary school, and is there any relationship with the secondary schools in terms of ensuring that progression?
Yes, that's a very good question, and one we have an answer for as well. Yes, we do. I have really, I personally, Parkwood has really strong connections with three secondary schools and one out of the borough, because we are kind of like on the edge with Islington and Hackney. And we do keep seeing our pupils. They come and teach Spanish to our younger ones, and we go to secondary school and we teach Spanish in year 7 and 8, and we usually impress them very much. Like Bernadette had the opportunity to come to one of these events where year 4 children were actually teaching a lesson in year 8 about mamíferos, reptiles, y peces, and the year 8's feedback was absolutely fantastic. And then we have pupils that are called like young language leaders from secondary schools coming to our school as well. So we do keep like in touch with them, and I know that a lot of them are taking GCSEs, which makes me feel really old, A-levels as well. But they are continuing. They are very inspired, and we're doing quite a lot of work in transition in Hackney.
So let me just say that that's one of our key things in Hackney as transition, yes, which was why the heads and the Hackney Education decided that all schools would do Spanish as their first foreign language, all primaries and all secondaries. Each secondary school is linked with their feeder primary schools. We transfer data, year 6 data every year, to the secondary so they know what they've covered. We run joint training with them. We have one in March where we have the primaries and the secondaries all there together and look at what the children are doing in both of the sectors. Just a plug, we do have a session on the 18th of March talking about the Hackney approach. If anybody's interested in attending that, they can email me.
Yes, and we're talking about intercultural understanding as well at the language world as well. So loads of interesting talks coming up and loads of things that we are like really proud to share, because Hackney really is like very committed to languages. So if there's no more questions, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Oh, there was one more, sorry.
There was one, I think someone said they have a kind of language of the term. So I presume this is a kind of school attempt to kind of celebrate a language. And I think she said the question was any tips on how to incorporate this into school life? So I'm guessing outside of the Spanish class.
I think so. Yes. For example, we've started now with the pandemic. Lunchtimes are different, so we have it a little bit on standby. But it could be something that works for this. I think we have posters of names of food and the menu in Spanish for lunchtime, and children have to just say yes, please, no, thank you, can I have more? I like it, I don't like it, and they get tokens for using the language. In our case, Spanish, during the lunchtime. So I don't see why they could not do something similar. And also, one of our TAs runs traditional playground games in Spanish in the playground twice a week after she attended one Erasmus trip as well to our partner school. So there's so many little things that you could do with the language of the month as well. Even you could have parents that speak that language recording the same story, for example, always the same story. Imagine the Three Little Pigs, and have that in virtual library of the Three Little Pigs in so many different languages that is there for the school to use. Once the children know the story, it will be easy for them to just like listen to it when it's spoken in a different language, when it's told in a different language. I don't know if those ideas are helpful, but.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, thanks so much, Raquel. I think we have got more questions coming in, but we might have to wrap up. We'll keep a record of these questions. And as I say, there will be time in the next session as well to revisit some of these questions. And obviously, I think Raquel or Bernadette might also reply in the chat. But just to kind of make sure we don't kind of overrun, I'll just say thanks so much again, Raquel. And as you'll see, there's a lot of
You're welcome.
Positive feedback coming through in the comments.
Hello everyone, so welcome back to the second part of the event today, and it gives me great pleasure to present our next speaker. Firstly, I'd like to thank Janet Lloyd from the Primary Languages Network, who facilitated contact with Emilie Woodroffe. Emilie Woodroffe is a visiting teacher in 4 primary schools in the northwest of England, works for the Primary Languages Network as a teacher service manager, and is going to give a presentation for around about 40 minutes, and then we'll have time for questions after that. Over to Emilie, thank you.
Mute myself. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, so I'll just share my screen and I'll make sure I'm sharing the sound. I've learned from Raquel. There we go. So let's start. Oh, that's the last slide, actually. Sorry about that. From the beginning, that's better. Okay, well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored. Thank you, Paul and Naomi, for asking me to speak at this event. Like a lot of you, I've been learning a lot about online teaching, remote teaching this past few weeks and months, from having done none to just teaching exclusively online for the past 2 months. Now, I've not been in schools since since before Christmas. So I've been exclusively working from home through Google Classroom and through making pre-recorded video lesson. So my presentation is going to be about how we've put together those video lessons and how we've made them engaging. So I hope you can get some ideas from me, from us, because I'm also speaking on behalf of Primary Languages Network. And I'm also looking forward to you sharing your ideas with us, especially in the second session on the 16th of March. To put things into context a little bit more, these lessons that I'm going to be telling you about, they were recorded for my own schools, and I work in 4 schools, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this after. And they were also shared with a wider network, the Primary Languages Network schools. And all in all, I'll give you some stats. We have had 17,500 plays and 1,600 of hours watching of these videos. So it's absolutely mind-blowing, and it's really overwhelming, if I'm honest. So let's get started. So a few words about me. So like Paul said, I'm based in the northwest of England in Warrington, and I'm a visiting teacher in 4 different primary schools at the moment. I teach from year 3 to year 6. I'm not teaching reception and Key Stage 1 at the minute, but I've got a lot of experience teaching these groups. As well as being a teacher, my other job is to work for Primary Languages Network, PLN. I'm the teacher service manager, and I look after a team of 20 plus teachers who, like myself, work in all in all about 50 schools in the northwest of England. So we teach French, German, and Spanish. As well as doing these things, I also work with the rest of the team to produce resources, so native speaker clips and audio files to support non-specialist teachers in our network of 640 primary schools. So that's the context. Last year, during the first lockdown, we were supporting our school mostly through our YouTube channel, and we made some little videos such as games mostly. I think there's something on colors, on numbers. There is an Easter egg hunt as well on there, so feel free to go and have a look. It's completely free. They're in French and in Spanish to give you an idea of what we do. So this is a collage of work I've received from children from home and in school. It gives you an idea of the topics that we have been doing in the spring one. So this was all the work we did last half term. So in year 6, we were doing sports and hobbies. So that's all the picture that you see with the children's work on sports and hobbies. We were doing at the market conversation in year 5. So that's all the work around numbers that we did to talk about prices in euros. In year 3, we did animals. And in year 4, we did parts of the face. So the concept of our lesson, if you like, of our video lesson, I call it my little formula. It's because it's something that's been, refined and improved and tweaked, and until we thought that's working quite well. So for us, a short lesson is very important because there's a lot of things out there to say that children are finding it more difficult to concentrate or get motivated when they do remote learning. So for us, 5 to 10 minutes is about the optimum sort of video length for the video. And I said it includes an interactive input from the teacher, so from me. I mean, at least it appears to be interactive, and then you can make up your mind if you think it is interactive as well. And then there's a game from your teacher's toolkit, okay? Whatever game you like and your classes like, we include game. And then I usually explain a follow-up task to complete after watching the video. And the task can be done in whichever way the children prefer. So it could be a picture, it could be a written text, it could be a video. Sometimes they involve the family. So however they want to present the work, that is up to them. And all in all, we're looking at about 30 minutes worth of learning, which is on average the time that I have to teach my classes, between 30 minutes and up to an hour if I do PPA cover. So that would be the amount of time they would be learning throughout the week for French. So I'm going to share with you a video, a short clip of one of my lessons. It's the first time I introduced the vocab to the children. It's aimed at a year 4 class, so we say it's stage 2. So these children have had 1 year of French already. And the learning objective is to say and write nouns for the parts of the face in French. So you're going to watch, I think it's about 6 minutes, which is roughly half of the lesson. As you're watching the video, have a think, what skills do you think I've covered? And how do you think I'm making it interactive? I hope you feel I'm making it interactive. So have a little think about this whilst you're watching the video. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone, and welcome back to your second French lesson. So in today's lesson, our learning objectives are going to be to say and write some nouns for parts of the face in French. Okay, so we're going to get started. So before we actually learn the different nouns in French for our face, I want to take a moment to think about what is a noun. So I'm hoping that you will already know what a noun is. So a noun is a word that we use to describe people or objects or things. So when we're learning parts of the face, we are actually learning nouns. And some nouns can be singular and other are plurals. And the difference between a singular noun and a plural noun, okay? Singular is when we talk about one thing, okay? So we have, for example, one mouth, one nose. And plural is when we have more than one. So we have more than one hair on our heads. We've got two eyes, okay? So watch out for the difference as we're learning the words for the singular nouns and the plural nouns, okay? And especially the article in front of the noun. So you will have heard of this before. In front of the noun, sometimes in French, we've got le and la, and we've got two words to say the in French, le and la, okay? Sometimes we use un and une as well, two words to say a, and I know that some of you know this. And for the plural nouns, we've got one word, and it's les. Les for the, more than one, or des for some. But for today, we're going to think of le, la, and les. Okay. So, écoute et répète. Listen and repeat. Watch as I point to parts of my face. La tête. La tête. La tête. Your turn. La tête. La tête is the head, the whole of your head. La tête. La bouche. La bouche. La bouche. Your turn. La bouche. Super. La bouche is your mouth. Le nez. Le nez. Le nez. Le nez, your turn. Le nez is your nose. Les yeux. Les yeux. Les yeux. Your turn. Les yeux. Excellent. Les yeux means the eyes. So I've got two here, okay? Plural now. Les yeux. Les oreilles. Les oreilles. Les oreilles. Your turn. Les oreilles. Super. Les cheveux. Les cheveux. Les cheveux. Your turn. Les cheveux. Super. Les cheveux. Okay. Let's move on. So this time it's lis, lis, écoute et répète. So I want to read the words, listen to the words, and repeat the words. Watch out for the special sounds in red, okay? La tête, la tête, la tête. So my special sound here is the final E, which is silent. That's why I've highlighted it in red, la tête. And there's something else I want to pay attention to as well, is the symbol, the accent on the first E, the hat shape that's over the E. So what I do sometimes, I think of putting my hat on my head, la tête, la tête. Okay, next one, le nez, le nez. Le nez, I've highlighted in red, E-Z, because we can't hear that sound in French. It just makes that E sound, le nez, le nez. Okay. Les yeux, les yeux, les yeux. So here I've highlighted two things, the S in les, in the article, because it links to the word after. So it makes this like a Z sound, les yeux. As if you're just saying one word, les yeux. So that's Z sound to remember. And then E at the end, the X at the end, sorry, is silent. Les yeux, les yeux. Makes me think of like a laser and having laser eyes, les yeux. This might help you too, I don't know. Okay. Les oreilles, the ears. So here I've highlighted the S in the O, because did you hear how it's linking again? It's like saying just one word, les oreilles, with the Z sound, les oreilles. And I've highlighted the S as well because the S is silent. Les cheveux, les cheveux, les cheveux, the hair. I've highlighted a sh sound in French, which is CH, sh. Okay, a bit like when we learn animals and we learn le chat, le chien, ch, cheveux. And again, the EUX, because we can't hear the X at the end, it's silent, les cheveux. Okay, right. Oops, all right, moving on. Okay, right. So I thought we would unpack the lesson plan now together, and we'll talk about what you don't see after. This lesson, the clip and also the PowerPoint that I'm using is available for you to download and use if you want to. So lesson plan, so I can say and write nouns for parts of the face in French. So I started off with very briefly, remember we're doing a short lesson, so greeting the class, saying the learning objective and setting the scene. Actually, I did that in spent quite a bit of time setting the scene and talking about nouns, because yes, we're learning vocab and working words, but you know, what kind of words are there? They're nouns, and there are special rules that we have to know when we're learning nouns. You might notice I'm really careful with the vocabulary I use to talk about grammar. I'm not very, very explicit, but they're only year 4. Remember, they've only, you know, had 1 year of French in year 3, which was cut short last year, and we only have half an hour a week. So, you know, putting things into context, trying to you know, stay on the communicative front really with them. So then I go into teaching and practicing the vocab, 6 nouns. So that's the bread and butter of a language teacher. That's what we do. We teach new vocab. So listen and repeat, plenty of opportunity. I think I said the word 3 times before they asked to repeat, sorry. So slowly, lots of opportunity to listen to the correct pronunciation and repeating. Then the extra layer is listen, repeat, and read. Okay, so going up a level, adding the reading of the word, and then again, I sort of tick the grammar box by telling them that they need to watch out for the special sounds, without saying that we are talking about phonics or graphemes and all of that stuff. So, you know, doing it in a child-friendly manner. Then after that, so that's what you've seen. And then after, I go into consolidating the new words, the new vocab with a game. And the game for this lesson is what's missing. So very, very simple. There are pictures on the screen and some are missing. Press pause. Can you guess, can you say which words, which parts of the face are missing? So it could be if you're doing the lesson at home and you've got your parents, then you might want to do that with them. If you're at school with the teachers, you can do that in class. But yeah, press the video and have a think, do the task. And then when you are ready, press play again and we'll go over the answers together. So that's how I'm talking about when I'm talking about interactivity. The opportunity for them to think about something and feeding back, even though I can't hear what they're saying, and then going over the answer. Then when we go over the answer, I'm showing them the picture, and then this time the words appear, and they are the words, so the written words appear, and they're also showing the special sound, the red letters as well. So again, to reinforce the sound spelling link. Then after that, I explain a follow-up task that I want them to complete after watching the video lesson, which is to draw and label an alien's face. And so obviously, because you're doing alien's face, there's going to be more than one, say, nose, eyes, etc. So opportunity to practice the singular and the plural nouns, and also to put in the numbers as well, doing some number work. So I'm going to show you, just see if I'm not forgotten anything. No, I'm going to show you what the children have sent following that lesson, and see how I go about giving feedback as well. So these are two lovely pictures. Very happy I received these two pictures. It's well presented. It's labeled correctly. It's great. I can see they've spelt the words correctly. They remembered about the singular noun and the plural noun. When I modeled the follow-up task, I explained how we said 3 eyes or 4 ears, etc. Because I preempted children saying things like 3 the eyes, 3 les yeux. So I modeled how we did that. I explained that nose doesn't take an extra S in the plural form as well. So I've modeled all of that. I can tell they've listened well, and they have achieved the learning objective as far as I'm concerned. A couple more, 3 more examples. I have to say that my favorite one is the one on the left. Might not be the most correct one in terms of the spelling, and the task hasn't been sort of like completely the learning objective hasn't been completely achieved. I really love that piece of work because it shows the creativity of this little boy who has just chosen to present their work with quite in a creative manner. He's written at the bottom a little note, thank you. I think I can't really see because it's got the Zoom thing, but there's a little note I didn't ask him to do. So this is something I've really loved about the remote lesson, is seeing what the children have done with the lessons, how they've shown their creativity, how they've engaged maybe even more at home that they might have done in the classroom, because they were allowed to present their work in whichever way they wanted. So that leads also to how do I give feedback in a video lesson? So video lesson works really, really well with platforms such as Google Classroom. That's the one I've been using with my school, with one of my school anyway. And so I upload the video on the weekly, on Sunday night, I upload the video, I explain the task, and then the children have a whole week to complete the work. And I go and check several times during the week. And when I check the work, I can review the pictures that they've uploaded, and I can leave a feedback in the comment. So if a learning objective achieved, or learning achieved, but next steps. So in a piece of work like this one, I might suggest to look again at some of the spelling, maybe les yeux, or maybe I could say, oh, I've noticed you've done 2 eyes, so how might you say 2 eyes? That kind of stuff. And they don't always comment back, okay? Yeah, that's how I would give feedback. That's the only thing I would say about video lesson. You really need something like Google Classroom, an extra platform, to have this element of receiving feedback. Because if you don't, then you're really sort of teaching in the dark, and you don't know how the children are taking to the lesson, are they able to do the work, etc. So really, really important. So moving on now. So just going to tell you why I think video lessons are quite effective in the primary classroom. Okay, so talked a little bit already about the short lessons. For us, 5 to 10 minutes, 5 slides is optimum. There's loads of evidence that it's really hard to concentrate at home, and I've got little children, and I can see that in them. Also, in my school, it's 30 minutes learning of French a week, so we've got to stay within that as well. The beauty of the video lesson is that it can be used at home and also in the classroom. So the teacher in the classrooms can use the videos. Just press the button, and then you're off. You can do it at any time that suits yourself, the teacher in the class or the children at home. You can pause it, you can rewind, you can listen to it again, you can keep it, you can, so it's, imagine if you could do that in the classroom. You just, press repeat and just play your instructions over and over again. So I think that's really the secret of the video lesson, just having sort of short, clear explanation that you can access as and when you want. When you do a video lesson, you know, I was really mindful to just keep things really simple, minimal distractions. Also, we've heard a lot about screen time, wanting to, you know, the children to just do things away from screens as well. And I love low tech. You know, I don't think it's because you're online you have to be all singing and dancing and loads of really interactive graphics, etc. You know, I think there's nothing wrong with just you know, press record, just record yourself. You can have a good lesson. Nothing wrong with all of the other things, but you know, it's not because you're not doing these things that your lesson, your online lesson, isn't going to be good. And that leads on to familiarity. Little children, they love, again, nothing more than just seeing a familiar face on the screen, seeing the teacher just doing their own things, playing the games that they loved, that they're used to playing all of the time. One of my colleagues described that little rectangle as a classroom, and then you can just do what you want in your classroom, wherever you are, at home or at school. Interactive, I think it's interactive. Okay, it appears to be interactive. I mean, there's not so much in this video I've shown you, but in the other videos there's loads of press pause, or lots of sort of hand gesture like this, or I mean, you have to be a little bit more animated, I think, when you do that kind of video, because there's no feedback, and the children, it's more difficult to read the other cues. So I think it can be interactive. So yeah, I think video lessons can be interactive. So moving on, enjoyable, achievable. So again, by keeping them short, by keeping them open in terms of how they can present the work. It's not, you know, at the end of a long day when you've done your maths and your English and all of this, and knowing you've got an enjoyable, achievable lesson, I think you're more likely to join in and participate. And I've been certainly really, really impressed with the level of participation of the children in my schools, and some children who don't participate too much in lessons have been joining in and sending me work, and I'll be sure to be celebrating this when I go back next Monday. And then the next 2 points, differentiation by outcome and also opportunity for creative outcome. So because it's such a short lesson, so children will, some of them will just sort of like work out sort of basic level and just do what you ask them, and others will, you know, go to town and they might set up a cafe in their house and have a role play with their parents. And so that, again, that's amazing to see. I think that's something to take away from these the remote learning. And then that links obviously to the opportunity for creative outcomes, so showing something in whichever way you want. I mean, language is not just writing. No, it's speaking, it's singing, it's all sorts of things. So whichever way you find comfortable, just show off your learning. Okay, so I'm going to move on now, and I want to show you actually some of the work. It's 2.5 minutes that the children have produced across Key Stage 2 this last half term.
Mon passe-temps préféré, la console. Mon passe-temps préféré est la course à pied.
J'aime la natation.
J'adore le handball.
Je n'aime pas le cyclisme.
Mon sport préféré est le badminton.
Mon passe-temps préféré est la gymnastique. Avez-vous pomme de terre? Avez-vous ananas? Avez-vous pois? Avez-vous une pomme? Je n'ai pas de pomme. Avez-vous un ananas? Je n'ai pas d'un ananas. Avez-vous abricot? J'ai abricot. Avez-vous un pois? J'ai un pois.
Bonjour, ça va maman. Je suis fatiguée. Je m'appelle Maman. Bonjour, je m'appelle Jasmine. Ça va comme ci, comme ça. Bonjour, je m'appelle Marshmallow. Ça va très bien. 10, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 80, 80, 90, 90. Merci.
Okay. Oops. Right. So I think we can tell the children have enjoyed the lessons. I'm certainly pleased with what they've produced. So I thought we'd look now really quickly about some example of language learning activities and games you might want to include when you're doing a video lesson. I mean, there's a bit of a common theme on this slide here is my ideas are very, very simple. I'm a big fan of simple things, simple ideas, simple games, and sometimes the most simple things are the most effective. Whatever works for you in your classroom environment, if you choose them carefully, they'll work for you, just as well online. So a lot of our colleagues felt we were going back to a teacher training with our flashcards. Nothing wrong with that. Very simple slides on PowerPoint, props. If you've got children, go and use their toys. And then play simple games, those games that you play all of the time. So, what's missing, for example. So you'll have your pictures and then play that game before and then remove one picture. What's missing? It's Kim's game, isn't it? You can play what's next. So you show them a sequence of picture, you pause, can they remember, can they guess what's next? And then let's have a look, are they correct? Can they guess which one was before? Loads of ideas. Guessing games as well. So I always have a whiteboard with me and I might write something on the board and do the sort of the mind reader game where they have to guess what's on my whiteboard, and I could tell them, can you take 3 different guesses? So it's 3 different opportunity to practice the vocab. So really loads of simple ideas. Don't be afraid of just doing simple things. That's what I'm saying. Been working with colleagues who really were really even scared to start a Zoom lesson. I think there's nothing wrong with simple things. That's what I'm saying. So another one, Simon says, I mean, to these days, even with all the games we have at our disposal, every single lesson, I am asked from year 3 to year 6 to play Simon Says. So that's it. Simon Says works well in the video lesson. Start slowly, and then sort of build up the pace, and then pause, big drama. Oh, I didn't say Simon Says. I caught you out. And then so you do that for a few minutes and then they can press pause and play the same game with mom and dad, with whoever, or if they're in the classroom, they can play it in the classroom as well. They can easily lead on this game because they know it so well. Similar one, repeat if it's true. So I might be showing them a picture and then I'll say a word. If what I show you is true, say it after me. And I'll try to catch them out, big drama if I've said the wrong thing. Again, really great. Higher and lower with numbers. So you could play this game in a different manner. So you show a number. First, they have to say what the number is. And then can they guess if the one that comes after is going to be higher or lower, plus ou moins. Okay, easy. I've got a colleague who play a game called Up and Down. So she put pictures on the top of the screen and pictures at the bottom of the screen. So it's if the word she says is on the top, so it's going to be, you know, up or down. You could play this game as like stand up, sit down. If the word is at the top of the screen, you stand up. If it's down, you sit down. Children point to pictures, word on the screen. Well, you can't, it's not going to do anything, but they can still press, you know, they can still touch the screen where they see that picture or the word. Don't matter if it doesn't do anything. The next one I really like is just, I say, zoom in your mouth. You just come a little bit closer, and it's great to practice pronunciation. You point to your mouth and you can practice, you know, rouge, bleu, really focusing on the mouth. When we do training, we often talk about using our sandbox. Sandbox is made up of your mouth, your throat, your nose, but your eyes, your facial expressions, etc. So by coming in, you know, zooming on the sandbox, you can, if you move your mouth like me, you're going to say words like me. Simple. Read my lips. Again, I could do colors. So really effective. Say it nice and slow, and they can say the word after you. Roll the dice, make a sentence. We played this in year 6 because we were doing the verb to play, jouer, with different sports. So this is great for verb work because there are 6 faces on a dice and there are 6 parts of a verb. So roll the dice once for your verb, another one for your sport, and you could do another time for who you're playing with, and you can model that. So they can make a nice sentence. I play this sport with such a person. You just got to watch out that the sports you choose are the one you can play, not do. Same like who you're going to do them with. So for example, we had something like I play this with dad. So we're not my dad because that's not going to work with all the parts of the verb. But that's also the beauty of the video lesson. You can really think about this beforehand, really refine it, and then yeah. And then I wanted to share. I'm just checking the time. We've got a bit more time. Some more ideas. So this time I went looking at interactive websites, and there are tons and tons of ideas floating around. And if you are on Twitter and you're following languages teachers, you'll have heard about these. If you're in the LIPS Facebook page, you will have heard about this and more. There's loads of these things out there at the minute. I looked at 2 things myself, which I thought were really easy to use. So first one is word wall. So I'm going to, Joe told me how to do that. I'm going to find the word wall. So the first one is Lespo. It's a random wheel. So I'll just click on it. Took me minutes to create, just input a list of words, and then you can make games. So this one is a random wheel. So you spin the wheel. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est l'équitation? Qu'est-ce que c'est l'équitation? They can hear you again and they can answer back. You could ask them to say if they like it or if they don't like it. You could ask them to give an opinion. Yeah, you could do so many things with this game. Word wall is great. I'm no expert, but I like that once I've created a game, I can just change the game by clicking here and choose a random card game. So if I start here, now I've got a card game. I can reveal the cards. There we go, and we can do the same. Then I can shuffle my cards. And keep going. So that's these words are great. These games are great to work on word level. And I made another game for my year 6 when we were doing sports about writing sports sentences this time. So using likes, dislike, opinions, and the verb to play. So that was towards the end of the unit to put it all together. So it's just unjumbling the words to create a sentence. There's some settings underneath, and I've disabled the time, so there's no time limit. So here, what I would do in a video lesson, I would ask them to pause, write it out or say it out however they want, and then press play. And when I press play, we'll go over the answers. So I'll say the sentence and rearrange the word. J'aime. Oops, don't want to do it now. Le tennis. Submit the answer, and you get points. And then when you go through the whole list, you can have also a recap at the end of all the sentences, and you can use that again as a teaching point. So this, I found that word wall really, really good. And like I said, it took me minutes to create a game. These are free. You can have access to even more games, but I think you have to pay. Okay, I'm gonna just go back to my presentation. And then another website I've been wanting to use for such a long time is Padlet. And if you don't know, Padlet is a virtual post-it note board. So the idea that children can write a sentence, collaborate, if you like, write a sentence. They'll have an instruction, and everybody type in their sentence. So they can comment on each other's sentences, and they can see what everyone's written. So it's lovely. So I'll show you as well what it looks like here. So that's the one I did with my year 6. So 20 out of 27. So I'm pretty pleased with how many children, considering we're not face to face, how many they've engaged with the lessons here. They aren't perfect, okay? There's lots to talk about, and actually I think it'll be a really lovely thing to look at together next week and celebrate, the work that they've all produced in lockdown. Look at the sentences. We could do surveys, how many people like football and who said that they hated basketball or whatever. So we can do lots of things there. And then we could also look at how could we improve some of these sentences, or can we correct some of the sentences? So I could do a whole other lesson next week just looking at this work. So I've always wanted to use Padlet, but the thing with Padlet is you have to have a device, so a tablet or a computer or something like that. And when you're a visiting teacher, you might know that these things can be very difficult to organize. You might plan for something and then it's all taken. So that was, for me, that was brilliant. Okay, I'm going back now. I'm running out of time a little bit. Let me see what time. I just thought we could have a go at playing some games. Now, I don't know how they're going to work, considering the interaction is limited. We could try. So we could have a little go with a higher and lower game with numbers. So maybe numbers up to, shall we say, up to 30. I think the way we're going to do this, I'm going to write a number on my whiteboard. In letters, okay? And you could maybe in the chat write what number it is using digit, and do you think the one I'm going to write after is higher or lower? Okay, so I'll do that now. I'll write a number for you. Can you write in the chat what number that is? And do you think the one I'm going to write after is going to be higher or lower? For some reason, I can't see the chat, so 12. Let me see. I'm going to have to probably just stop share for a minute. Oh, there we go. Yes, I can see the chat. Okay. And okay, let's do another one. I'm going to write, so higher or lower. Let's see. Okay. What's that number? And were you right? Was it higher or lower? Who got it right? Oh, it was higher. It was higher. There we go. You get the idea. Okay, you get the idea. I wanted to have a game of, let me share my screen again. Of draw an alien, but again, I thought I might be able to see your pictures at the end. I don't think that's going to work, but it would have been lovely. I could have been telling you about what my alien looks like and how many eyes it has and noses, etc. And then you could have just drawn it and show me. I think we'll skip that one. But I thought it would be a really lovely thing to do for us all is I've created a Padlet for us. So you can go ahead and contribute maybe to your first Padlet. I don't know. I'm going to put the link to this in the chat. And could you tell us, what your name is, where you live, and what language you speak? So maybe you can do this in your own language if your language is Spanish or in French. It'd be really lovely to see everybody's contribution. So I'll put this in the chat if I can do this. I want to stop share.
I think Paul has put it in the chat for you, so I think you're.
Is he? Great. That's why people are able to do that now. Lovely. Let's see. That's great. Some German, some Spanish. You can see where everyone is from. So that's really, it's lovely to see it live. Actually, I've never seen it sort of like happening live. You can comment as well onto each other. That's great. So there you go. You might have been doing your first Padlet. I think it's a brilliant tool. Like I said, I've been wanting to use this for a long, long time, and I think it's really effective. Oh, lovely. So I'm going to finish now. I've not been very good at keeping up with the chat. I don't know. You can tell I've not been doing live lessons. So I don't know if there was any questions. Yeah, just let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, so
let me see if I can see the chat.
I'll just give you a summary, Emilie. There's been some really positive feedback on the resources, and Janet has been replying as well to some of the questions about some of your. And Joe has also been replying on some of the platforms you've mentioned, and how to access them. And I think so. Most of the platforms you've mentioned are free. Is that right? Don't require some.
That's right. Yeah, to start with anyway. I think actually Padlet's quite limited. I think you can do 3 Padlets before you have to start subscribing. Word Wall is free. You've got a limited amount of games. You have to pay if you want more games. There'll be people on the chat who will know a lot more than me about these platforms. There are lots more. I know Raquel has produced some games in the resources she's sharing with us using other platforms as well. There are some really good ones, and like I said, these are great, but it's also nothing wrong with just doing your thing as well.
And I think there were some questions earlier, but again, I think Janet answered them about your initial lesson that you presented, and I think the questions were about, do you give them a vocabulary list? But again, I think Janet answered that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she did. Yeah. Well, the video lesson. So the video lessons, we record them using Zoom, and then we upload that video on a YouTube channel, and we make it as unlisted. That link is then put in on a slide with a title and also a link to our knowledge organizer for that unit. So children can watch a lesson, and then when they do the follow-up task, they can click a button and they've got the vocab list for the unit.
Brilliant. There's one of the questions, but we can fill on that, is about, will the resources, so the resources will be shared. We've linked to, I'll put the link again onto the resources that Emilie and Raquel have very kindly shared. They are asking if the presentations could also be shared. Yes. So if you'd be able to share, Emilie and Raquel,
of course,
copies of your slides as you're able to. Brilliant. I think
absolutely. Yeah, and we're on Twitter. I think my handle is on the presentation, and we've also got our own Facebook page, Primary Languages Network. So come and check it out as well.
Brilliant. And also, I think Bernadette will talk about this shortly, but we are going to circulate a survey as well. So if there's any comments that you'd like us to pass on as well to Emilie or Raquel, we will make sure they are passed on from the survey. But yeah, I think that's most of the questions. But as I say, there's a lot of very positive feedback about people who've used your resources previously and who the primary language network resources in general. So yeah, a lot of positive feedback, but we'll save the chat to make sure it's shared with the speaker.
Yes, that's great. I love that Padlet. It's lovely to see all these contribution from people.
Brilliant. I think that's all the questions. But as I say, also Emilie and Raquel will be at the next session in 2 weeks' time, along with Joe and Bernadette, to respond to further questions. So if there's something that you didn't, that kind of comes to you after the session as well, there will be more chances to pose your questions. Oh, I think some people are having some difficulties with Padlet.
Oh, right. Let me see.
Technical difficulties, but
figure out how to type on Padlet. Okay, so on the bottom right, you've got a little circle with a plus, and if you click that button, and you get a little window where you can type in your contribution. And then you can also click onto somebody's comment, somebody's sentence, and add a comment if you want to.
Oh, sorry, I'll post the link to the resources. Just make sure I've got it. Sorry, I'm moving between too many windows. But in the meantime, I might, thanks so much, Emilie, again, a wonderful presentation, and that is very much coming through in the feedback. And what we'll do now is we'll hand over to Bernadette, who's going to talk a little bit about a kind of task for you to do between these two sessions, and a bit more about what we'll be doing in the next session. So if Bernadette, if you are happy to lead on that.
Yeah, am I there? Okay. Right, as we said at the beginning, this was the first of 2 sessions. So what we wanted to do in this first session is present you with some really good examples of good practice that both Raquel and Emilie have shared with us, the things they've developed while we've all been working at home and doing remote teaching. They're both quite different, and both of them have generated lots of really good ideas and strategies. Now, what we want you to do before the next session is to think about some of the things that they've shown you, and to think about something you could either try in your own classroom if you're back in school, or something that you can look up and perhaps review and feedback to us on. So if you think about some of the things that Raquel raised, the things about were the pupils engaged? How could you do that? Could you use some of her ideas in what you're doing? The progression shown very clearly, it's often an issue in language teaching, isn't it, that some children seem to do the same sorts of things year after year. But I think Raquel clearly showed there, starting the same sort of topic on animals, but how that can be developed, how the skills of those pupils can be extended and their language skills developed in that way, from single words into giving them alternatives to choose from, in order then for them to be able to manipulate the language and produce language of their own, which is what we're aiming for, obviously, at the end of primary, before they go to secondary school. Things like, what do you think of the thing that Raquel was saying about not correcting mistakes, using lots of praise, modeling the work? Are there strategies like that, even if you're not teaching languages, that you could use and try out in some of the other lessons that you're going to be doing? Again, Emilie very much on the route of modelling the work, setting out what people can do. The work that the Primary Learning Network has done with setting up a whole structure and a whole approach throughout all their 600 odd schools. I mean, I think that's an amazing thing that they've managed to do there. Another thing, some of the ideas that Emilie had, those simple games that children can do at home. I like the idea about them using their own toys as something that they could do while they're watching the video, while they're following up with their own families. Somebody else made the point about somebody setting up a little market, etc. So some really lovely ideas coming out through what you've seen there. Another thing from Emilie, that link with literacy, that is really important for us in primary, to link in with what the children know that they've looked at in English as well, and reinforcing that, the grammar structures, etc. So, and the Padlet, which is something that I definitely want to start developing. So we want you to trial out something that you've learned from today between now and our next session. You will be getting a survey form which will ask you, 1, for feedback on today, but 2, if you've got any very specific questions that you would like to raise with us in the second session, we want you to identify those at that point within the survey. You'll also be given the links to all the resources that have been shared with you today so that you can trial them and use them. But the other thing we want you to do is that a lot of you are very experienced primary language teachers, and we'd also like you to see if you want to share some aspects of your own practice as well. We've given you 2 examples here this evening, but we know that there's lots of you, and a lot of you on here I know from many years in the game, and that you're really experienced and skillful teachers, and we'd love you to say, oh, I've done this, I would like to share this with everybody else in the second session. So we want you to do that as well, and indicate that on the survey form that you'll be receiving. As we've said, the next session will be very much you feeding in, you asking the questions, you having that chance to really raise issues that perhaps you've been worried about or you would like some more explanation on, etc. So please do feel able to do that. I think that is it for me. We have a question here on resources for German lessons. Perhaps somebody who's been on this call could perhaps present a German, some aspect of a German lesson in the second session. That would be lovely. We're not trying to put one language above another. We're linguists that want to let every language flourish, and that's the way that our approach. There is, if you saw in the chat, I put my website, there is a scheme of work in German, there's activities in German there as well, and also in Turkish, as well as Spanish and French. Everything we produce is freely available. So have a look there if you want to have a look at those as well. And as Janet says, I think from the Primary Learning Network, they have got material in German as well. So perhaps Janet might feel happy somebody to share something in that on the next session on that. Those are the points I think I wanted to raise. There was one thing that Raquel forgot to present on her slides. A point that Emilie made, and I think the one that we wanted to make very strongly, is the whole thing about phonics and making sure that the way children pronounce things and their intonation, their grasp of the language orally is really important, and it's a key thing for us. And I know Raquel, for example, covers aspects of phonics in every single lesson. That is key to us in primary. What we do want them to leave with is excellent accents, ability to manipulate that language, and to be confident language speakers. And that is always our aim leaving primary school. And that, I think we've shown, and the work of the Primary Learning Network as well have shown that that's very much an aspiration that we've been able to deliver on. So I don't know if there was other things people wanted to say.
Could I just mention, if people want to share their work next session, which obviously we would love you to do, could you please not show any student names, children's names on the screen for a GDPR point of view? That'd be lovely. But we would really encourage you to volunteer and to share some good practice, even if it's just for a few minutes. And I'd like to personally thank Emilie and Raquel as well for such a great presentation today. It's been wonderful. It's been fabulous. We've been in for we had a real treat, I think, today. It's been great.